Hey YouTube, I goofed up on the comments page for my video challenging Satanists on Crowley. I never make bloopers like that in an actual video, but a couple of times I've been busy and answered a comment when I should have just left it alone for a while and I had more time to think it through. Fortunately, it was an old friend who put a question to me on that page. Thunderstruck, she calls herself these days. And Thunderstruck wanted to know about the sum of the chapter heading for the Book of Lies, which was the topic of that video. Chapter 0 comes with a Greek chapter heading. And I challenged a Satanist here on YouTube to decode that in terms of the numbers and the values of the numbers and the archetypal meaning of the numbers Kabbalistically. So anyway, here's the opening chapter to the Book of Lies. Someone mentioned that they couldn't make it out when I held it up to the webcam the last time I talked about this. So here it is in a flash graphic, or rather the Greek heading to the chapter, which was what formed my challenge. When Thunderstruck approached me about it on the comments page, I glanced at the letters and put together their corresponding numbers pretty carelessly and came up with an incorrect total. Then, as we talked it over, I saw my error and got it right, but not before presenting it in a comment as a fact. Anyone who wants to see Neal Fox at his lamest and most distracted can go to the comments page for the Crowley video and see how poorly I handled my exchange with Thunderstruck, you know. But as I say, it was fortunate that it's someone I knew and she was being cool with it, but I shouldn't have been talking to anybody at that time. My computer was having some problems. I do have notes on all of this on the hard drive, but I couldn't get to those notes when I was having this exchange. I just scribbled down some addition really fast and said, okay, that's it. And it's like, no, that's not it. I had to correct myself. And it all hinged on a comment left by someone named PanSophia93. Okay. And I had gone 2 weeks ignoring that comment, and now I couldn't ignore it anymore. So let me read that in full because it's very cogent and the person makes a real case. Equals 2211. The chapter basically describes the tree of life. So these numbers fit, 22 being the paths and 11 being the Sephirot, which would include Da'at, plus 2211 is the sum of the numbers 1 through 66, which is the mystic number of the Kliput, for the reason that the sum of the numbers 1 through 11 equals 66. Now this is really pretty thorough. I mean, this is someone who's done their homework, okay. Or they've gotten it from someone who did do their homework. It's always better with all of this to get this on your own. Don't get it from other people. Because it's more meaningful that way, and it's what that kind of exercise is about, the benefits you get from doing it yourself. But whoever came up with that was really thinking about it. Some people even get their information on Crowley from Crowley himself. But you know something? He's not always the most reliable advocate. And I quote, "The number 11, the Henekad, the accursed shells that only exist without the divine tree. 1 plus 1 equals 2 in its evil sense of not being 1. Then a few pages later, the number 11, the great magical number, as uniting the antitheses of 5 and 6, etc. AVD, the magic force itself. Ooh! And it does deserve an answer, and I had brushed it off, and because, you know, life can just carry you away, but I'm not trying to excuse myself one way or another. What PanSophia had done is added 70 to the sum that I had come up with, which is to say she or he interpreted the 0 underneath the chapter heading as the Greek letter Omicron, which sums to 70. Okay, so he or she added 70 to 2,141 and came up with 2,211. Well, for me, what was uppermost in my mind about the Book of Lies were the individual sums of each word and how they interrelated with one another. But sure, hey, if it's something as short as a chapter heading, you just sum the whole thing up and take a look at that too. And I had done that, but for me, it hadn't been as meaningful as looking at the individual sums, which I had forgotten those two, you know, in any exact way, but I knew what the meaning of it had been. And that's what stayed with me more than the sum of the entire heading. So what about Omicron as 0? Well, the footnotes say it's both. Okay. Now, I said to Thunderstruck on the comments page, 0 is 0, so forget 0 as Omicron. I mean, I would say that even now, knowing, that this deserves more of a reply than that, because you get yourself into such trouble with 2211. 11 is a toxic number in Kabbalah for so many reasons. For people who've never heard of the Kliput, it's supposed to be the tree of life out of balance, and you don't have a total view of the tree of life unless you consider the Kliput, okay, the tree of life in the context of the Kliput. And it's the darling of the Satanists, sometimes to the exclusion of the tree of life. So, I mean, the Kliput has no context in the tree of life for some Satanists, so it gets really, really, really stupid. So, since Pan Sophia and Thunderstruck wanted to start with 2211, let's look at what 2211 actually means, apart from doing things with the digits and saying what that adds up to and how it relates to the Kliput and 1 through 11 and 1 through 66. You're still just referencing numbers to other numbers and not talking about what any given number actually means. So let's put this together and look at what you're actually cooking up here. So, in my best Lucifer voice,
allow me to say that 2000 is a double infinity, meaning that whatever follows from it will end in it. What follows here condenses down to 200. 200, as I have explained in my talk on Beelzebub's year 223 by objective time calculation, is the totality of the time-space continuum, all time-space continuums everywhere. Now, in 2211, 200 is joined to the value of 10, 10 being the projection of the human mind, or more fancifully, in the Creator's mind, nesting therein as infinity's basic elemental, the square root of infinity, so to speak, expressed as the number 1, Alpha in Greek, Aleph in Hebrew. The one unfathomable archetype in Kabbalah that is always breaking out of itself and cannot be contained.
Now, the number 1 is tricky in Kabbalah. The numbers 1 through 9 are archetypes. Now, all the numbers in the system are archetypes, but 1 through 9 are archetypes as archetypes. They constitute the ideas and underlying principles and configurations by which existence exists. Okay? While 10 through the 90s is about existence itself, and triple digits and higher are about what's beyond existence as we know it. Okay. So, with the number 1, however, you've got the archetype of infinity. So it's all and everything, and all and everything is the wild card in the deck, all right? Kabbalistic systems as steeped in sums as Crowley's is become deeply problematic. Okay. What you've got in any double-digit sum that doesn't end in 0 is a physical process that must be made to conform to a single digit, 1 through 9, and each of those digits represents an elementary archetypal principle underlying existence. Now, when that principle might not agree with the process in question, the very physical process in question, it's a problem. And 211 or 2211 all involve the physical process of 10, which is projection or manifestation. In the case of the continuum, the number 200, you have the continuum manifesting as only the continuum can, as the entire cosmos. So you have the entire physical cosmos, and it is expected to conform to the number 1. to infinity. The cosmos, by definition, is finite. No matter how vast it is, it's finite. Trying to make it conform to infinity is, in software terms, like infinity is overwriting the existing program, and wiping it out. Sure, the principle of infinity underlies all existence, but when infinity is the outcome of a given physical process, hey, that's all she wrote. So if existence can be likened to the Creator having a dream, and we are all lost in the dream, having our own dreams in turn, the metaphor of a movie comes to mind, a multi-dimensional movie where the characters are as thought forms that believe themselves to be, as real as you or I believe ourselves to be real, because we are those thought forms in the mind of the Creator, so to speak. I don't like the word Creator, okay? I say all it is. Anyways, that aside, what you've got here is, with the movie metaphor, is the numbers 1 through 9 are about the ideas and principles by which a movie is made possible, okay? And then the numbers 10 through the 90s is about filmmaking itself as a process, the production. Triple digits or higher are about people lining up to buy their ticket and go sit down in the movie and snuggle up against their significant other and share a Coke or something and enjoy the flick. And you go home, or you take her to the door and hope she'll invite you in. And if she does, usually the last thing on your mind is the movie, huh? 10 is projection. It's the movie projector. And joined to 1 is akin to some prankster going up, to the projection booth, taking the projector down to the audience and flashing it in everybody's face and then throwing it on the ground and smashing the projector. No more movie. And keep in mind, all of the characters in the film, you or me and everybody, all of life on the planet are convinced the movie's real, and we go up with the movie, It's broken. It's it. The film just broke. It's the apocalypse.
So it is nothing if not volatile, and if not at absolute zero, which is an impossibility in Kabbalah, it certainly verges on deconstruction, if not outright destruction, and is at every turn as much about death as life, and the end as the beginning of absolutely anything and everything. The concept of the timeless cannot be contained by time, much less by anyone's abstraction of it. Instead, because the only aspect of transcendence, 1000, is doubled in upon itself as a vortex, a loop. One is dealing with a closed system that cannot possibly be closed, wherein infinity's elemental must break out of the entirety of the physical cosmos itself, an implosion. The logic of a black hole.
There you have it. Pan-Sophia and Thunderstruck just blew up the universe, and I, for one, would like to know what they're going to do about it. Another way of looking at the sum would be that 2000 is 200 times 10, which means the totality of all time-space continuums everywhere, the time-space continuum, generates multiple versions of itself. That suggests parallel universes. But in 2211, you're looking at one particular universe, 200, within that matrix of parallel universes. All right? And that particular universe is generating infinity in the archetype of Aleph, the number 1. Now, for time-space to try to generate that which is not time-space and yet at the same time is time-space becomes a contradiction in physics known as, nowadays, a black hole or a wormhole. And in Star Trek, a ship will fly into a wormhole and come out the other end into, another sector of the galaxy. In reality, you fly into a wormhole, you die. And maybe the flotsam and jetsam of your infinitesimal molecules might travel through time or leak over into another parallel universe, but only as so much molecular debris. In closing, I read from the Book of the Law, Part 2, verse 60. My number is 11, as are all their numbers who are of us. The 5-pointed star with a circle in the middle, and the circle is red. My color is black to the blind, but the blue and gold are seen of the seen. Also, I have a secret glory for them that love me. Well, I've gone out of my way to demonstrate the darkness of the number 11. And no one who has studied Kabbalah is going to argue with me about that. So how then is the number 11 the blue and gold? And don't tell me it's blue and gold because Crowley says so. That puts you at the back of the class. In the meantime, the case to be made for 2211 is too strong to ignore, but it's not the whole story to chapter 0. There's more.